I'm AP Townley, and this is Roleplay Culture. In the previous video for this series, I mentioned a type of character known as the Gish. They were Githyanki wizard assassins. Also in that video, I mentioned how the Eldritch Knight was a good representation of the play style for what people expected from the Gish. Not necessarily a good choice, but a choice. I think there are better ways to fulfill that fantasy, but I think the Arcane Trickster subclass for the Rogue is a better representation of what the Gish was intended to be. Your opinions on that matter are welcome in the comments below. If you don't know, the Arcane Trickster is a core subclass for the Rogue in 5e. They get some spellcasting, as well as the ability to use Mage Hand cantrip to disable traps and pick locks from a distance. They also have some of the same challenges that the Eldritch Knight suffered from. They only get up to 4th level spells at 19th level. They also choose from the wizard's spell list. They are restricted in what schools of magic they can use, just like the Eldritch Knight. But in the Arcane Trickster's case, they must choose spells from the schools of enchantment and illusion. But also, like the Eldritch Knight, they can choose a spell from any school at levels 1, 8, 14, and 20. So, spell choice is critical. Let's discuss 5 underrated spells for the Arcane Trickster in D&D 5e. We will pick spells from levels 1 to 4 plus a cantrip, and we'll try to be mindful about what school of magic we are taking and when, as that is a restricted thing. Level 0, Friends. Why fight when we can be friends? I think I have had only one player at a table take this cantrip, which is a darn shame because it's pretty interesting. This 0th level enchantment spell takes an action to cast and lasts for a minute with concentration. But more interestingly, it has a range of self, which means you're casting it not on your foe, but on yourself, i.e. no saving throw. You pick a creature of your choice that isn't hostile to you, and you get advantage on all charisma checks. Once the spell ends, the creature becomes immediately hostile. And what happens after that is for your DM to determine whether they might attack you or whatever. A lot of players might think of their social character being charisma dependent casters like bards or sorcerers, but actually the rogue can sometimes fill that role with their access to expertise on more skill proficiencies. And if you're infiltrating, sneaking around like a thief, you might need to talk your way out of situations. This cantrip can help you do that, or just gather information, albeit temporarily, and don't let the hostility scare you. You can even turn that to your favor, either by having another character cast an illusion spell on you, or you use disguise kit to make yourself look like someone else, or even just tell them that you're with an affiliated rival group. You can turn that hatred against your other enemies. Number 1, Distort Value. You're a rogue. That means you're probably at some point going to steal some stuff. For your out-of-school option, there are too many choices. Shield, Find Familiar, Absorb Elements. This one spot it's too clogged up to mess with. And for illusion and enchantment magic, there are some good picks there too. Disguise Self, Charm Person, on and on. But then there's this little underrated gem. Hailing from the corporate stronghold of Acquisitions Incorporated, which I don't think I've ever discussed anything related on this channel to that. This 1st level illusion spell takes a minute to cast and lasts for 8 hours with no concentration. You can double or halve the perceived value of an item that is no more than a foot squared. More than enough for a piece of jewelry. Expensive things come in small packages. So yeah, as a rogue, you're going to steal some stuff. And then you're going to have to sell the things that you steal. This spell lets you eke out a little more cash off your mark. Or buy something off of them a little cheaper. The latter of those I see being a little more difficult to pull off, as I assume you would be buying their product and they'll notice something a little different about it. This illusion is on an item, not the person, so there's no saving throw, but like most illusions, an individual can make an investigation check to notice something unusual. Now, if you're playing a game where no one buys loot, or your DM just, has them pay half price for everything and move on, this spell might not work for you. But if not, What better way for a thief to earn a little more coin with a little bit of magic? Number 2, Gift of Gab. Unlike the previous Eldritch Knight, the Arcane Trickster has a plethora of options for both accepted schools and out per second level. Invisibility and Mirror Image are almost must-haves, as are spells like Misty Step from out-of-school options. But then there's this weird little spell, once again from Acquisitions Incorporated. They're turning out to be a treasure trove of underrated spells. This second level enchantment spell is cast with a reaction when you speak to another. Have you ever had that moment when you're just said the wrong thing to an NPC and just set them off? Maybe gave the wrong password to a passing guard wondering who you are? Well, fear not. That's what this spell's for. This spell erases everything you said in the last round from the minds of everyone within 5 feet of you. Instead, they remember the new thing that you just say, which constitutes the verbal components of this spell. There's no saving throw for this either, which is kind of wild, considering this is basically low-key memory eraser. But it does have a very strange component known as royalty, meaning someone has patented the spell, and you must pay 2 gold every time you cast it, which is very strange, but I kind of like it. As a rogue and possibly a thief, I can see this character getting into a lot of trouble and having to talk their way out of it sometimes. But you might not have the best charisma score. This spell, plus some previous friends cantrip, lets you weasel your way out of situations. Number 3, Ashardalon's Stride. Now we're getting into rough seas. We are at least 13th level, 14th with this spell. So anything with saving throws or spell attack rolls are going to be very difficult to achieve considering our intelligence, which is our casting stats. It's not going to be that great. So from Fizzbane's Treasury of Dragons, we have this 3rd level transportation spell that takes only a bonus action to cast, which is pretty rare for this level. It lasts for a minute with concentration. As soon as the spell is cast, your base speed increases by 20 feet, and your movement doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity. Already, that's a great effect for a rogue. Being faster and running around without provoking attacks of opportunity is absolutely something a slippery little ne'er-do-well is going to want. Lets us get into and out of all kinds of trouble we want. But wait, there's more. Wherever you travel, you set the world ablaze. Creatures and objects who are within 5 feet of your path take 1d6 fire damage. But only once per turn, though, so no cheesing ideas here. And if we cast this at a higher level, our speed increases by an additional 5 feet, and the damage does up to 1d6 per level more. Sure, we cap out at 4th level spells, but still pretty useful. And as a rogue, we have Cunning Action, which lets us use a bonus action to disengage, hide, or in this case, dash. So on subsequent turns, we can move, use our action to dash, and then our bonus action to dash again. That is 150 feet of flaming movement, assuming our base starts at 30. We can set a whole village ablaze, or just wreck an army of kobolds. And let's be clear here, there's no saving throw or anything. This effect just works. What sneak thief doesn't want to slip in and out amongst their enemies, while also setting them on fire? Whether you're an archer rogue trying to get away from melee combatants or dual wielding trying to get in there and stab them in the back, this spell can facilitate that post-haste, while also setting them on fire. Number 4, Fabricate. So here we are at 20th level with this spell. Let's be honest, you're probably going to take greater invisibility with your regular choice. So we need something that avoids saving throws or attack rolls. This level of play makes it very different for a caster of any sort that doesn't focus on heavy on their casting stat, which is us, by the way. Even though we cast spells, we will probably focus more on our dex and maybe con instead of our intelligence. So I present this humble Fabricate spell. This 4th level transmutation spell takes 10 minutes to cast, so not a combat spell. Range of 120 feet and is permanent. Using raw materials available, you fabricate a large or smaller object within a 10-foot cube, or 8 interconnected 5-foot cubes, or half that if you're working with a mineral substance like metal or stone. You can take a tree and turn it into wooden boards that you can lash together and make a raft out of to travel down a river. Or take a piece of iron and turn it into a gate key that you saw hanging from a guard's belt. There are so many ways to use this spell creatively, which is very much what we need at this level. A creative spell to create creative solutions for difficult problems. With your sneak attack dice being 10d6, combat isn't really a thing to worry about too much. It's all the problems you can't solve by stabbing it in the back. This spell gives you a tool, sometimes literally, that can provide or even create the thing you need to save yourself. It also only has verbal or somatic components, which means if you find yourself deprived of your equipment, even your casting focus, you could create what you need from raw materials around you. You could turn that spoon that the jailers gave you into a shiv, or your bedding into rope to repel to safety. This is as useful as your imagination is great, as well as how kind your DM is to you. That is something to note. You might want to talk to the boss about the finer details of the spell to make sure everyone's on the same page. That is our list of 5 underrated spells for the Arcane Trickster Rogue in D&D 5e. If you want more videos like this, you'll have to subscribe, ring the bell, smash that like buttons, share with your friends, and I'll see you in the parlor.